£127,000. That's the pension fund sitting quietly in a SIP belonging to a chap called Martin. He's 62, built it over 30 years of self-employment, and he thinks his kids will inherit every penny of it tax-free when he passes. He's wrong, and he's not alone. In 11 months, from the 6th of April 2027, the rule that's been protecting that pension for the last 12 years ends. And when it does, HMRC gets to come for it. I've spent nearly 40 years inside UK tax and pensions. I've watched this system work. I've watched it break. And I spent the last year sitting in citizens' advice sessions, watching people realize too late that the thing they built to protect their family is about to be taxed twice, once in their hands and once in their children's. This video is for everyone who's built a pension pot above £100,000, above £50,000 actually, above anything substantial. In 11 months, everything changes. Here's what nobody's telling you and what you can still do before it's too late. When you die and you have money in a defined contribution pension, a SIPP, a personal pension, a workplace DC scheme, that money sits outside your estate for inheritance tax purposes. That's been the rule since 2015. It's been a brilliant rule for ordinary families. It's the reason a school teacher with a £280,000 SIP can pass it to her kids completely free of inheritance tax. No 40% bill, no complications. The pension trustees pay it out at their discretion, and because it's discretionary rather than something that passes automatically under the will, HMRC doesn't get a look in. That mechanism has meant something. Across the country, millions of people have built pension pots specifically because pensions were the one asset they could pass on and protect. It wasn't a loophole, it was the intended design. Pensions are about retirement income. If you don't spend it all, that's fine. It was meant to sit there outside the tax system for the people you love. But here's the bit. The government last autumn changed its mind. I'm going to be straight with you, this isn't new news. The finance bill containing these changes has been working through Parliament since late 2025. But I've sat with 30 or 40 people now, and almost none of them know it's coming. Not because they don't read the news, because the news didn't explain it in plain English. The technical notes are published, the direction is set. Come April 2027, unused pension funds are being brought into the inheritance tax estate. Let me explain what that actually means in money terms. Take Michael. He's 68, built a SIPP over 35 years. It's now worth £320,000. He's got a decent state pension, a modest house worth £450,000, some ISA savings of about £80,000. Total estate, roughly £850,000. His wife died 8 years ago. He's got 2 adult children. Under the current rules, the SIPP passes to the children completely free of inheritance tax. The house goes through his will, but there's a residence nil rate band of £175,000 that means his children can inherit it with no tax charge. Between the nil rate band and what's left, his estate comes in under the threshold. The children get everything, 0 inheritance tax. Now let's move the clock forward to April 2027. Same Michael, same estate, same will. But now the SIPP is counted as part of the taxable estate. The £320,000 is no longer sitting outside, it's inside. His total taxable estate is now £850,000. The nil rate band for a single person is £325,000. The residence nil rate band is £175,000. Combined threshold, £500,000. The estate is £850,000. HMRC wants 40% on everything above £500,000. That's £140,000 going to the tax office instead of to his children. Michael hasn't done anything wrong. He hasn't been careless with money. He's saved, he's invested, he's done everything right. But the estate he built just got £140,000 lighter because of a rule change he didn't know was coming. And here's the part that bothers me more than almost anything else I see. When Michael dies, his children don't just pay inheritance tax on the pension, they pay income tax too. Under the new rules, if Michael is over 75 when he dies, which he might well be, any money his children take out of the inherited pension is taxable at their marginal rate. Let's say one of them is a higher rate taxpayer. She takes £50,000 out. She pays income tax on it at 40%. That's £20,000 in income tax on top of the inheritance tax HMRC already took. Same £50,000 taxed twice. That is not an accident. That is a policy choice. And the families who don't know about it will simply absorb the cost quietly. Let me walk you through 3 people, because this hits differently depending on where you sit. Case study 1. David, the business owner. David sold his business in 2018 for £1.2 million. He took the entrepreneur's relief, minimized his tax, invested the remainder into a SIP. That SIP is now worth £620,000. He's 61, in good health. His wife's got a modest pension. They own a house outright, worth £550,000. He's never thought about inheritance tax because pensions were always outside the estate. From April 2027, that changes. The SIP now counts. If he dies at 75 and his wife's already passed, his estate is £1.17 million. The nil rate band is £325,000. He's got a residence nil rate band of £175,000 if the house goes to his children. Combined £500,000. The children inherit £670,000 in inheritance tax. That's £268,000 to HMRC out of what should have been theirs. Case study 2. Susan, the teacher. Susan was a teacher for 38 years. She built a workplace DC pension pot over decades. It's now £240,000. Not huge, comfortable. She's got a house worth £320,000 with a modest mortgage, some savings. Her combined estate is about £530,000. Under the current rules, when she dies, her children inherit the pension free of inheritance tax. The house goes through probate, but the nil rate bands cover it. Inheritance tax bill, 0. From April 2027, the pension counts. Her estate tips over the threshold. Inheritance tax bill, roughly £48,000. Susan did nothing wrong. She built a pension the system told her to build. She wasn't trying to be clever. Case study 3. James and Patricia, the couple. James and Patricia own a flat worth £380,000. Both have been self-employed. Both have SIPPs. Combined, they're worth £285,000. They've got some ISAs, about £120,000. They're thinking about their wills. They're thinking about passing things on fairly. Under the current rules, when the first of them dies, the SIPPs pass to the surviving spouse free of inheritance tax. When the second one dies, the combined nil rate bands and residence nil rate bands add up to just over £1 million. The estate is well under that. The children get everything. From April 2027, both SIPPs count. The picture changes. The combined family threshold is still around £1 million, but the estate is now higher because the pensions are counted. Inheritance tax is suddenly £50,000, £60,000 on the second death. They're not millionaires. They didn't try to be clever. They just saved. Now here's the one bit of this I want to be absolutely clear about, because it's the thing that saves some people. The spousal exemption is preserved. That's the good news in this otherwise grim picture. Pensions passing from one spouse to a surviving spouse remain completely exempt from inheritance tax, even after April 2027. The rules don't change there. So if you're a married couple and the first of you dies, the pensions pass to the other completely free. No inheritance tax, not on the first death. It's the second death that matters. When the surviving spouse dies, then the pensions are counted and they're part of the estate. That's where the £40,000, £50,000, £100,000 bills show up. For couples, there's something else worth knowing. The inherited assets can sit in the survivor's hands for years. You don't have to rush into action. You've got time. But that time does need thinking through, and it does need planning while both of you are here and well. For anyone single, or anyone who's already widowed, the picture is different. The pension counts immediately against the threshold. Planning needs to happen now. Right. This is where I'm going to give you 4 things, and I want you to take these seriously. Thing 1. Ring your pension provider today. Your pension has a document called an expression of wish, or a nomination form. It tells the trustees who you want to inherit the pension. This is not legally binding. That's precisely what keeps it outside the taxable estate. But trustees take it seriously. If that form is out of date, or if you've never filled one in, ring your provider today. Ask them, "I'd like to update my expression of wish. Can you tell me how to do that?" Most providers will send you a form or let you do it online. It takes 20 minutes. It's free. This matters because when you die, the trustees need to decide who to pay. If they don't have clear guidance from you, they'll make their own choice. And that choice might not be what you'd want. For a married couple, the most common nomination is to your spouse. That's simple. That protects the first death picture, and it gives the survivor time to reorganize. For anyone single or anyone with more complex circumstances, the nomination form is where you tell the trustees what matters to you. Thing 2. Sit down with your will. Here's what I need to be straight about. Your will, as it currently stands, may need to change. The reason is this. Under the old rules, some advisors suggested to people, leave everything to your spouse on the first death, let them sort it out, and make sure the children are protected in the second will. That strategy still works. But the economics of it shift when the pension is now part of the taxable estate. Some people are going to benefit from taking some of the pension as a lump sum during retirement and using it to pay down other debts or to live on. That reduces the estate. Some people are going to benefit from thinking about splitting assets differently in their will so that both spouses' nil-rate bands are used. This is where conversations with a qualified estate planning solicitor start to matter. This is not a small decision, and I can't tell you what's right for you because it depends on your specific situation. But I can tell you this, if you haven't thought about it since 2015, when the pension exemption was put in place, now is the time. Most solicitors will do a will review as part of a broader estate planning conversation. That cost usually runs to £300 to £500. It could be the most valuable £500 you spend this year. Thing 3, the gifting opportunity. Here's something that almost nobody uses, and it's genuinely valuable. Every person in this country can gift £3,000 completely free of inheritance tax every tax year. That's the annual gift exemption. And if you didn't use last year's, you can carry it forward once, so you can give £6,000 in a single year. For a married couple, that's £12,000 a year, going to children or grandchildren with no tax consequence whatsoever. Over 10 years, that's £120,000 removed from the estate before a single inheritance tax clock starts running. Larger gifts start what's called the 7-year clock. If you survive 7 years after making the gift, it falls completely outside the estate. In years 3 to 7, something called taper relief reduces the potential tax bill progressively. Now, here's the bit that matters in the context of April 2027. A lot of people are going to think about making larger gifts to children specifically to reduce the pension and estate value. They're going to think about taking money out of their SIPP early, gifting it, and hoping the 7-year clock runs down. I'm going to be honest with you. This creates complications. If you're over 75 and you've just been diagnosed with something and you're thinking about a gift, the tax side of that calculation is very different from a gift made in good health at 65. HMRC looks at this. They can challenge gifts made close to death. But for someone in their 60s in reasonable health, making regular modest gifts to children from their income or from their other savings, that's sensible. That's the system working as intended. That's using the allowances you've got. And for anybody thinking about taking a pension withdrawal early, specifically to gift it away, have that conversation with a tax advisor. The withdrawal itself creates a tax bill. The gift might not achieve what you think, but the tool exists, and it matters. Thing 4, the one thing you can do this week. If you do nothing else after watching this video, do this one thing. Ring your pension provider. Say, "I'd like to update my expression of wish and make sure my nomination form is current." Most people can do this in a phone call. Most providers will post the form, or you can do it online. Takes 20 minutes. It costs nothing. And it is, genuinely, the most important step in getting ahead of April 2027. After that, pick the one thing that feels most relevant to you. The will review, the gifting conversation, the chat with a solicitor. Do one of those. Not all 4 at once, just one, then the next. I need to say something here that I think matters. None of this is hidden. The finance bill is published. The technical notes are available. The change is coming. It's not a secret. It's just not explained in plain English by people who understand what it actually means to real families. The people who are going to be most affected by this are, in my experience, the people who did everything right. They saved, they built pensions, they invested carefully. They didn't try to be clever. They followed the rules as they understood them. And now the rules are changing without them knowing. That bothers me. And here's the other thing. I've watched over nearly 40 years how this system works. HMRC doesn't send letters telling you about changes that cost you money. Your pension provider doesn't ring to say, "By the way, next year your pension fund is going to be counted in your taxable estate." Your solicitor doesn't get in touch unprompted. The system documents itself. It doesn't explain itself. And the people who pay most for that silence are almost always the ones who are most careful to do things properly. But the good news, and I mean this genuinely, is that there's time. 11 months. That's enough time to sit down, think about your situation, have the conversations that matter, and make decisions. You're not trapped. You just need to know that the date matters. I should be clear about what I am and what I'm not. I'm a retired accountant and pension compliance officer. I'm not a regulated financial advisor. Nothing in this video is advice about your specific situation. I've shared what nearly 40 years inside UK tax and pensions has shown me. But your situation is yours, and it's different. For a real conversation about your estate and your pension, the right people to speak to are a qualified, regulated, independent financial advisor, particularly one who specializes in pensions and estate planning. That's not free, but it's money well spent. A solicitor who does estate planning, same. Or, completely free, a session through PensionWise. That's the government-backed guidance service for anyone over 50. Ring them on 0800 011 3797. Seriously, they're free, they're independent, and they can help you think through the basics. I'll put all of that in the description. 11 months. That's the clock. April 6th, 2027, the day the rules change. If you've got a pension pot, doesn't have to be huge, could be anything substantial, have the conversation, make the phone call, update the nomination form. That one step puts you ahead of most people who'll simply absorb the cost quietly. And if this is useful, the subscribe button keeps things like this coming, mostly Friday mornings. Look after yourselves and look after your pension.